Hi, my name is Zach Stone and I'm the Secretary General of ILMUNC 27, and it's my pleasure to welcome you to our conference. One of our goals this year is to provide greater training for our novice delegates. And with this in mind, I'm very happy to present to you the following video, which will allow both novice and advanced delegates to hone in on their skills. I hope you enjoy. Delegates, it's my pleasure to welcome you to the United Nations Development Program at ILMUNC 2011. During this committee session, we will be discussing two potential topics: disaster relief and response, and access to potable water. We are going to begin by taking roll. Djibouti.
Present.
Denmark.
Present.
Ecuador.
Present.
Ireland.
Present.
Luxembourg.
Present.
Are there any points or motions on the floor at this time? Ecuador.
Motion to open the speakers list for 45-second speaking time.
That is in order. All those in favor of opening a speakers list with a 45-second speaking time, please raise your placards. All those opposed? This clearly passes. We will be using this speakers list to determine which topic we will be discussing first. All those delegates wishing to be added to the speakers list, please raise your placards. Ecuador, Ireland, Germany, New Zealand, Sierra Leone, Central African Republic. Thank you. Ecuador, you are now recognized for 45 seconds.
Thank you. Delegates, we are presented today with two very pressing issues. The delegation of Ecuador thinks that the topic of disaster relief is more important. There are a lot of aspects to discuss to this issue, like funding, infrastructure, and action time to be taken. We urge this committee to choose this topic. Thank you. I yield to the chair.
Thank you, delegate. Ireland, you are now recognized for 45 seconds.
Fellow delegates, both topics on the table are very pressing and important international issues. However, the nation of Ireland believes that access to potable water is the topic that we should discuss first. Disaster relief is very case-by-case in nature and prevents this committee from taking very much action to resolve this issue. Access to potable water, however, is a daily struggle.
Thank you, delegate. Are there any points or motions on the floor at this time? Yes, Israel.
Motions to set the topic to topic A, natural disaster relief and response.
That is in order. There has been a motion to set the agenda to topic A, disaster relief and response. In order for this to happen, we will need 2 speakers for and 2 speakers against this motion. All those in favor of setting the agenda to topic A, please raise your placards. Israel and Djibouti. All those against this motion, please raise your placards. New Zealand and United Arab Emirates. Israel, you are now recognized for 30 seconds.
Now, while we have two very appropriate topics before us today, what we have to understand is access to potable water is an issue that many different committees have discussed and that is under much work currently in the international community. I urge this committee to take on the task of addressing natural disaster relief and response. Thank you.
Thank you, Israel. And our first speaker against this motion will be New Zealand. You have 30 seconds.
As the speaker before me alluded to, the issue of potable water has been discussed by many committees before this one, and that is exactly why we as a body today should continue to discuss this topic. It is the most imminent and constant problem that this world faces and affects a much larger portion of the population in this world than natural disaster relief. Natural disaster relief must yield my time to the chair.
Thank you. We will now have a vote whether or not to set the agenda to topic A. All those in favor of setting the agenda to topic A, please raise your placards. And all those opposed? This motion passes. We will now be discussing disaster relief and response. Are there any points or motions on the floor at this time? Yes, Denmark.
Motion to open the speakers list with a speaking time of 1 minute.
That is in order. There's been a motion to open the speakers list with a speaking time of 1 minute. All those in favor, please raise your placards. And all those opposed? This passes.
The speakers list is the default method of debate. If there are no motions on the floor, committee will automatically revert to the speakers list. The speakers list will last for all 4 days of conference. Once you speak, you are no longer on the speakers list, but you may write a note to the chair to add yourself back to the list at any time. When you are done speaking, there are 3 different yields. 1, you may yield to the chair. In this case, your time simply gets absorbed. 2, you may yield to questions, in which other delegates in the committee may ask you questions about your speech, and you may answer them. 3, you may yield to another delegation, who can then come and speak for the remainder of your time. If you fail to yield, then 2 30-second comments are in order.
All those delegates wishing to be added to the speakers list, please raise your placards. Burkina Faso, Czech Republic, Hungary, Germany, Denmark. Thank you. Burkina Faso, you are now recognized for 1 minute.
Fellow delegates, I am certain that not a single delegate in this room would say that we don't need appropriate and rapid disaster relief. However, the matter that we really need to be discussing immediately is funding for these projects. As you know, no country is willing to sacrifice their entire budget just in order to fund a project in a foreign country where there's been some natural disaster. So we have to discuss how the UN, how international organizations can effectively fund these projects. Thank you. I yield to questions.
Thank you, Delegate. Burkina Faso has yielded to questions. All those delegates wishing to ask Burkina Faso a question, please raise your placard now. Israel.
The delegate from Burkina Faso not agreed that setting a procedure for how to respond both through the international community and the United Nations is a more pressing topic than funding? Absolutely. Setting some sort of protocol is a pressing issue. However, I mean, that protocol would be meaningless without appropriate funding for such programs. So really we ought to consider that first. Thank you.
Thank you, Delegate. Your time has elapsed. Czech Republic, you are now recognized for 1 minute.
Thank you. I'm actually very grateful that this committee did select this topic as the topic that we should be discussing, responses to natural disasters. And I am grateful for the sentiments that have just been presented by the delegate from Burkina Faso. I do believe that funding is something we should be talking about. However, I think that the more pressing issue should be delivery mechanisms through which we can deliver such aid, because if we have enough funding, it doesn't really matter if we have the appropriate amount of funding if we can't deliver the appropriate deliver the appropriate resources to the appropriate places. So I think it's very important that we discuss delivery mechanisms, and I hope the committee considers this idea.
Thank you, Czech Republic. However, since the delegate did not yield his time after his speech, there are 2 30-second comments that are in order. All those delegates wishing to comment on Czech Republic's speech. Ecuador and United Arab Emirates. Ecuador, you have the floor for 30 seconds.
Thank you. The delegate of Ecuador agrees with the delegate that has just spoken, but it would like to state that without funding, there is no delivery mechanisms.
Are there any points or motions on the floor at this time?
2 very integral aspects of committee are points and motions. There are 5 different points at ILMUNC. The first is a point of parliamentary inquiry. This is when you have a question on committee procedure, that is, the way in which committee is supposed to run. The second is a point of personal privilege. This is when something is impairing your ability to debate. Perhaps you can't hear the current speaker, or it is very cold in the room. The third is a point of clarification. This is when, looking at a resolution, there is a non-substantive point, perhaps grammatical, that you have a question about. The fourth is a point of information. This is when you ask a question to a delegate about a substantive point, and this is only when the chair allows you to do so. And the fifth is a point of order. This is when you feel another delegate is acting out of committee procedure. Now, there are many different motions that happen at ILMUNC, but the 2 that you will be using the most frequently are moderated caucuses and unmoderated caucuses. A motion for a moderated caucus means that you are motioning for another type of formal debate, similar to a speaker's list, and a motion for an unmoderated caucus is when you are motioning for informal debate amongst delegates. If a point or a motion is in order, the chair will rule it so. However, if it is out of order, the point or motion will be ruled dilatory and it will not be taken at that time. I understand this is a lot of information, but keep watching the video and hopefully all of this will become clear to you very soon.
Germany.
Motion for a 5-minute moderated caucus with a 30-second speaking time for the purpose of discussing funding for natural disaster relief and response.
That motion is in order. The delegate from Germany has motioned for a 5-minute moderated caucus with 30-second speaking times for the purpose of discussing funding related to natural disasters and relief.
The next type of debate that I'm going to talk about are moderated caucuses. Moderated caucuses are another type of formal debate, similar to a speaker's list. However, they are used for a specific purpose, to talk about a specific aspect of the issue. The chair will call on the delegates one by one, they will speak for a set amount of time, and then sit down.